know you need to get ready in the chamber and make sure that you follow through those pronouncements that the Minister of Finance will make, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
That's Honorable Brian Munduvile, who is leader of the opposition, just giving us a reaction on his expectation, the 2022 national budget. I did interact with various stakeholders. I spoke to that's John Ngambela, who is a visually impaired man, all the way from Mumbwa, and I also spoke to Dr. Muchemwa Sinkala, who is an economist, and not forgetting a seasoned banker, Mr. Pethias Mushiwe, in the next piece of clip, just to learn to know on what the expectations are in the 2022 national budget. Take a look at this.
But what I'm expecting, this new Dawn government, they should consider us, especially the blind. Let's have something. They should think of us, those who have retired. Some of us, I come from Mumbwa. Mumbwa is typical rural area. Typical. So I've used my own money and I didn't move alone. I have to ask somebody to escort me, who I have paid, the little amount I have, to pay him to bring me to this so that they can give me money. No, that one depends me a lot. My name is Ngambela John. It depends me a lot. If I think of that, I can even cry. What of others? I know others now. They have no food, no accommodation. But how are they surviving?
Well, it's a very important day for our country, especially that we now have a new government in place. The expectations are very high. And personally, having followed through how the fiscal year has been and how the budget is put together, I do not expect major changes to the budget that we had last year. Most of our budget for last year was affected, of course, by what was happening in our economy, COVID-19, and then a lot of programs were put on hold, and some of these programs might be pushed to 2022. So I expect a budget that will show hope to the Zambians. And what I mean by this is that we expect the government to be very much about inflation being below 10%. And if you remember well, this fiscal year ending, we had budgeted to bring inflation to a single digit, which I don't think is going to happen. We also hope that the new government will come up with a revised target, maybe a realistic target of about maybe 10-11% in terms of inflation dropping. And I also expect them to put together a bit of more money in agriculture. We saw how the country performed well in agriculture, and the results were seen in the second quarter when you saw the currency starting to appreciate. But besides all these things, I mean, the expectations are high. Workers are looking for wages to be increased, but I don't expect a government of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema to do that because, as you know, he's already an economist, so he will be very, very careful to avoid inflation that would come from excessive wage increases. So there might be some increments, but they shouldn't expect so much because we're still trying to correct a lot of economic fundamentals. And the fact that the government has also come up with the Ministry of Small and Medium Entrepreneurs, I expect them also to have a look at the interest rates so that we can push this agenda this country that depends so much on this sector. So I expect interest rates maybe to be revised a bit downwards, and or create certain opportunities that will allow small-scale business to thrive. And above all these, I expect them to put more emphasis on foreign direct investment, because this is the only way this country is going to improve. So if we look at our macroeconomic objective when it comes to employment creation, this can only be realized if we do well in foreign direct investment. And when I talk about foreign direct investment, I expect a lot to do with joint ventures and, of course, value addition. So if these things are put in place, you expect that we're going to have a very, very good year in 2022. But for my fellow Zambians, well, we need to give this government a bit of chance, because it has just come in. And if we look at our debt situation, it's still very, very, very high and so bad. So we need to manage the debt, which is an obligation, but also we need to manage this economy. So my expectations are quite minimal in this year's budget. Thank you.
The budget want to see government invest so much in education and technology. I think what is happening in the global world is that there is a lot of advancement in technology, and we don't want to see Zambia lagging behind with technology. So we want to see that that is pumped heavily in the education sector, and also want to see a lot of money is being pumped into healthy. I think we've seen that what has been happening in the previous government is that you would go into the hospital, you're not finding medicine. We don't want to see that going on again in the new government. Then at the same time, I think we saw a lot of pronouncements in terms of reduction of pay as you earn. I think we want to see a situation where the employees of this republic feel happy to see that there is a reduction of pay as you earn, which is not helping in terms of saving, in terms of developing at an individual level, as well as at a country level.
With a number of stakeholders who could hear their views on their expectations. And in the studio today with me, I have Honorable Stanford Mulusa, who is also Solwezi Central Member of Parliament and Chief Government Whip in Parliament. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Madam.
Yes, as I said, the Minister of Finance is expected to present the 2022 national budget. What are your expectations of the first budget of the UPND?
This is an exciting moment, and as you might be aware, this is our first budget, and the people of Zambia are very expectant of it. And it will mean that most of the promises that we had made during the campaign will be brought out through the budget. The President has talked about taking money closer to the people through the Constituency Development Fund. We would like to see that. We have talked about giving education, free education to vulnerable people. I think it will come. We have talked about job creation. This budget will be talking about job creation. So the people of Zambia are very expectant. And the expectations are that all the promises the UPND government made will be seen through this budget. Of course, this is our first budget. We might do critical issues towards the economic transformation, but I believe that in the next budget, we are going to score again and again.
Thank you very much, sir. Those are the views of Solwezi Central Member of Parliament, who is also the Government Chief Whip, Mr. Stanford Mulusa. So we continue interacting with the members of Parliament as we get to hear their views on the 2022 national budget expectations. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh.
Very much for watching Parliament TV, and shortly we expect the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Situmbeko Musokotwane, to present the 2022 national budget to Parliament. And today with me I have the Member of Parliament for Chikankata, Ms. Jacqueline Sabao, who we want to hear her views on the expectations of the 2022 national budget. So, Honourable Member, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon, viewers.
Yes, we just want to hear your views on your expectations for the 2022 national budget, which will be presented to Parliament shortly.
My expectations are very high. Being a representative of the people of Chikankata, my expectations are high due to the fact that if you look at Chikankata, it's a rural constituency, and it's one of the districts that's been integrated for a long time. We'll discuss on the issue of agriculture. In the past 5 years, agriculture has gone down in Chikankata because we are receiving 2 bags of fertilizer instead of 8. The other provinces of Zambia, they've been receiving 8 bags, while Chikankata and the other provinces, which is southern, western, and northwestern, we are receiving 2. Hence, when we talk of agriculture, it means that we are disadvantaged. We are looking at this budget that the Minister of Finance will give us something to improve the numbers of bags in the area of feasible, so that our people can have enough fertilizer for their farming. And the other issue for the people of Chikankata is the issue of health. Chikankata is an old place, but we don't have a public hospital. We only have one hospital, and the other hospital is the Mission Hospital. I'm looking forward that the resources for Ministry of Health will be enough so that the people of Chikankata can benefit from that. And in the rural centers that we have in Chikankata, when you go there today, you find that there are no medicine. Our people, when they go to the clinic, what they are given is the prescription instead of the medicine.
I know that Chikankata is a new district. So what are your expectations for the 2022 budget? What do you expect government to do for the district of Chikankata? It's one of the new districts in the country.
As a new district, the first thing that government should work on is the road network, because my understanding is that while there's a good road network, there's development. At the moment, it's very difficult for Chikankata to woo investors because of the bad road network. No one would want to go to Chikankata where there are no roads. So the government should give us enough resources to invest into infrastructure development, so that investors will come. Chikankata has a lot of opportunities for investments, but because of the environment of bad roads, no one can want to invest in Chikankata.
Thank you very much. We continue interacting with members of Parliament, and today at 14:30 hours, the national budget will be presented by the Minister of Finance and National Planning. So we have interacted with various stakeholders who include members of Parliament. So for now, we take a short break and we come back and continue interacting with the members of Parliament. Thank you, Honourable Member.
Thank you.
The Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Situmbeko Musokotwane, with his wife and child arriving at Parliament buildings to come and present the 2022 national budget. And right there he's ascending the staircase of Parliament buildings, and he is carrying the traditional copper briefcase, and he's walking in right into Parliament in readiness for the presentation of the 2022 national budget. You are watching live proceedings of Parliament, and we shall cross over to the chamber to listen to the 2022 national budget presentation. And before we do that, we continue interacting with various members of Parliament and other stakeholders on their views on the 2022 budget and their expectations. And in the house with me right now, I have Mbabala Member of Parliament, Mr. Joseph Munsanje, and we would like to talk to him and hear his views on the budget expectations. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us on this short program.
Yeah.
Yes, this afternoon we are waiting to hear the national budget being presented by the Minister of Finance. So what are your expectations on the first budget of the National Party for National Development?
Thank you so much. The fact that since 1998 we have been in opposition, now we are making our first budget as a government budget, having provided alternative budgets over the years. As the UPND, we expect a very balanced and progressive budget that is going to ensure that the economy is streamlined to balance both the fiscal and monetary policies, as well as the social sectors of growth. Job creation is key in this budget, so we have to balance the economy but also create jobs so that even the people in Babara constituency, in my constituency, we can create rural jobs by spending in the areas of value addition, for example, in agro processing. So expect a lot of money to go in those areas, including the social sectors of education and health. We know we have the Abuja Protocol for Health to allocate 15%, 20% in education, because an educated nation and healthy nation is a productive nation, and it will trigger other production. So we expect that our schools in Babara constituency that don't have desks, for example, have desks, they will have teaching materials by putting the 20% in the social sector of education. We expect drugs and other things in the health centers in Babara constituency and the hospital, Macha Hospital, for example, to have an increased funding so that medicines are available, so that we can have a health population in Babara constituency. With that health population, then we can see production. So we expect a balanced budget, but that is very productive and progressive by ensuring that the key areas of growth in education, where we have enlightened minds in the country, and health, citizens, and then production, then we can have a good economy.
Thank you very much, sir. And that is Honorable Joseph Musanje, Member of Parliament for Babala, and we've been talking to him to get his views and expectations of the 2022 national budget that will be presented to Parliament shortly by the Minister of Finance and National Planning. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah, most welcome.
So we continue interacting with the members of Parliament and various stakeholders on the 2022 national budget expectations. And just shortly, we are going to listen to Mr. Kateshi and hear his views on the 2022 national budget. Keep watching Parliament TV.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Parliament Television. In a few hours to come, the Minister of Finance will be presenting the 2022 national budget to Parliament, and it is very important that we learn about this budgeting process. And to help us shed more light on the budgeting process, we do have the Principal Clerk from the Budget Office, and this is Mr. Marcel Kateshi, just to highlight. Thank you so much for joining us on Parliament Television on this very important day, sir.
Thank you, President, and greetings to the viewers out there.
Let's begin by you just shedding more light about your office, the Budget Office here at the National Assembly of Zambia. What exactly do you do?
The Parliamentary Budget Office is one of the departments under the Office of the Clerk. It was specifically established to assist members in the budget oversight role, and also just general any issues dealing with the economy.
In a few minutes' time, the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Situmbeko Musokotwane, is expected to unveil the first budget for the new government. How is the budget prepared, maybe for starters?
Thank you. Indeed, we are all expectant that the Minister is presenting the very first budget for the United Party for National Development. A lot as viewers may have been following, a lot has been said in the chamber about a number of issues. They've been assured that a number of things will be addressed in the budget. So in terms of preparation, well, we have the Planning and Budgeting Act now. So it lays out the whole process of budgeting in our country, and not only that, but we also the Planning and Budgeting Act integrates the component of planning and budgeting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we start from our planning part, then we move on to the budgeting part. That is now making sure that we have the resources. So in terms of preparation, of course the Ministry of Finance takes the lead. Yeah. So prior to within the preparation of the budget itself, before the presentation like today, we are supposed to have the medium-term budget plan, which is a 3-year rolling plan. Then we would move on to finalizing of the annual budget. But I think we will see this happening more in the years to come, because the National Planning and Budgeting Bill was just passed, so it's in the phase of being implemented.
I know the budget will be presented to Parliament, and what is Parliament's role in the preparation of the national budget?
Yeah, like I said, we now have a role clearly laid out in the National Planning and Budgeting Act. So we see a number, for example, we see very important document now being referred to the legislature for approval, including the National Development Plan itself. We see the medium-term budget plan, when it's prepared, being referred to an appropriate committee of Parliament to give its input. Then after that, we see the finalization of the budget, and then presented. Then later on again, around January, we are supposed to see now a green paper, not a green paper, a white paper of the medium-term budget plan. So now all that is now legislated. So we, like I said, we expect to see these things happening in the next few years. Yeah.
I know we've had interactions with various stakeholders expressing their expectations in the 2022 national budget. Yeah. What role have these people played? Because today is a final day, and the minister is expected to unveil this document through Parliament. And what is the role of various stakeholders? What role have they played to the culmination of today's?
Yeah, the beauty with having or operating under a democracy like we have in our country, each stakeholder is recognized, and the role they play in the whole governance system in the country, including economic governance, where the budget is situated. So the various stakeholders, the business community, the mining community, the people who are involved with the social sectors in education, health, water, have all expectation on what they want to see in the budget. Remember that our country is a developing country. We are faced with a lot of challenges. Of course, we've seen infrastructure being built, but this is a vast country. Yeah, it's a vast country. There are a number of projects that are incomplete in the education sector, in the health sector, in the water sector. So all these stakeholders want to see whether enough resources will be allocated to the sectors, so that we see how we can improve human life. Remember that at the center of it all, it's the human, it's the person that we are trying to uplift his or her well-being.
Okay. It has been a tradition whenever a Minister of Finance is presenting a budget to Parliament, we see them carrying that copper briefcase. What is the significance of having that document in that briefcase, the copper briefcase?
This is a tradition where that is carried for, we carried on from our colonial masters. Remember, they also do the same, they carried here. I think the history behind it is that the budget used to be presented in a bag. It's in fact, budget comes from, it's recorded that it comes from French budget, a small bag. So this is where
Thank you very much for being with us on Parliament Television. And it's a special day today in that the Minister of Finance and National Planning is expected to present the 2022 national budget this afternoon. And Parliament Television is going to carry out live proceedings of the presentation of the national budget. And on the live commentaries, my name is Pauline Monga.
Thank you so much for being with us on Parliament Television. I hope and trust you've been enjoying listening and also watching the build-up. And we've interacted with various stakeholders on what they expect in today's budget presentation of the 2022 national budget. Shortly, the Honourable Mr. Speaker making way to the chamber, and that's in time for commencement of today's business. All eyes are on Parliament Television.
Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by those two men. Let us all her people join as one, brothers under the sun. Oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky. Like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free. Praise be to God, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Free men we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen. May Her Honor, the Vice President, indicate business of the House for the next week. Madam Speaker, I rise to give the House some idea of the business it will consider next week. On Tuesday, 2nd November 2021, the business of the House will begin with questions. This will be followed by presentation of government bills, if there will be any. The House will then commence the debate on the motion of supply on the 2022 national budget. Madam, on Wednesday, 3rd November 2021, the business of the House will start with questions. Thereafter, the House will consider private members' motions, if there will be any. This will be followed by presentation of government bills, if there will be any. The House will then continue with the debate on the motion of supply on the 2022 national budget. On Thursday, 4th November 2021, the business of the House will commence with questions. Thereafter, the House will consider presentation of government bills, if there will be any. After that, the House will continue with the debate on the motion of supply on the 2022 national budget. Madam Speaker, on Friday, 5th November 2021, the business of the House will start with Her Honor, the Vice President's question time. This will be followed by questions. The House will then consider presentation of government bills, if there will be any. Thereafter, the House will continue with the debate on the motion of supply on the 2022 national budget. Madam Speaker, I thank you. Notes of motion. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the period 1st January 2022 to 31st December 2022, presented to the National Assembly on Friday, 29th October 2021. This is pursuant to Article 202, Clause 3 of the Constitution of Zambia, Amendment Act 2 of 2016. Madam, I'm a bearer of a message from His Excellency, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, recommending favorable consideration of the motion that are now laid on the table.
The question is that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2022 to 31st December 2022, presented to the National Assembly in October 2021. Any debate? The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Madam Speaker, let me start by congratulating you and the entire presiding leadership of this House on your election following the August 21 general elections. Today, history is being made because for the first time since independence, the processing of the national budget in this House will be presided over by a female speaker, assisted by another female as first deputy speaker, and a man as the second deputy speaker. Madam, the women are in charge. It is my honor and privilege to present the 2022 budget. This is the second time that I'm being entrusted with the task of being Minister of Finance and National Planning. May I take this opportunity to thank His Excellency President Hichilema for according me the honor to once again serve the Zambian people. Madam Speaker, I also take this opportunity to acknowledge the work of my predecessor, Dr. Valyangandu, especially as he tried to find solutions to the crippling indebtedness of the country. Madam, I spent the last 10 years as an opposition member of parliament for a poor rural constituency. From this experience, I've learned valuable lessons which I apply in the management of the Treasury. I trust that with the guidance of the President, who himself is a very passionate person about rural development, our rural and other areas facing poverty will receive increased attention. Madam Speaker, this government has inherited an economy suffering from the effects of extreme indebtedness and COVID-19. The immense task we have as a new government is not only to overcome these effects, but also to transform the economy, help the poor escape vicious cycle of poverty, and bring prosperity to all Zambians. Madam, during the official opening of the first session of the 13th National Assembly, His Excellency the President outlined the policy direction that the new Dawn government will take in the next 5 years. Madam Speaker, the President emphasized the need to rebuild the economy, deliver jobs, and better the livelihoods of our people. He also placed emphasis on creating an environment to invigorate economic activity in which every citizen will have the opportunity to participate and benefit. Madam, concerns have been expressed that the promises we made during the campaign were made solely for the purpose of winning elections. Madam Speaker, for us as UPND, there is no Don't Kubeba. We stand by our campaign promises of yesterday, today, and the future. The 2022 budget is therefore the first steps towards achieving our vision of transforming the economy. Madam Speaker, it is in this context that the theme for the 2022 budget is growth, jobs, and taking development closer to the people. Madam, to transform our economy, this budget provides incentives to support higher output and production of a wider range of products. This will create employment opportunities for our people and in turn improve their livelihoods. Madam Speaker, through this budget, we will increase support to the social sectors and social protection programs. Further, resources will be taken closer to the people to improve service delivery and involve citizens in decision-making. This is a message of hope for all Zambians to participate in taking the nation forward. Madam, my budget address this afternoon will be in 4 parts. In part 1, I will highlight the global and domestic economic developments in 2021. In part 2, I will present the macroeconomic objectives, policies, and strategies for 2022. In part 3, I will provide the details on the estimates of revenue and expenditures for 2022. And in part 4, I will conclude my address. Part 1, global domestic developments in 2021, global economic developments. Madam Speaker, the global economy is expected to rebound this year and to grow by 5.9%. Last year, the global economy contracted by 3.1%. The recovery in growth this year is attributed to the relaxation of COVID-19 restrictions that allowed for the resumption of economic and other activities. Further, increased spending by governments and the provision of liquidity by central banks aided the recovery. Madam Speaker, commodity prices have maintained an upward trend as the global economy is recovering. The average price of copper from January to September 2021 was $9,194 per ton, compared to only $5,834 per ton over the same period in 2020. Similarly, average crude oil prices rose to $68 per barrel from $43 over the same period. Currently, copper prices stand at $9,850 per ton. More recently, crude oil prices have shot up to $84 per barrel due to constrained supply. Domestic economic developments, economic growth. Madam Speaker, it is desirable that an economy must grow at all times as measured by the gross domestic product, GDP. GDP measures the growth in the value of goods and services produced in the economy per annum, which is desirable that this must always increase. At the very least, we must consistently grow the economy at a rate higher than the population growth, currently estimated at 2.8%. This is to ensure that the economy is able to meet the demands of a growing population. Madam, the economy is steadily recovering from the adverse effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Preliminary estimates indicate that the real GDP for the first quarter of 2021 grew by 0.5% and improved to 8.1% in the second quarter. Overall, the economy is projected to grow at 3.3% in 2021, against a contraction of 2.8% in 2020. This growth is, however, not quite sufficient to impact the high poverty levels that subsist in the country and to achieve our vision of becoming a prosperous country. Budget performance. Madam Speaker, the overall budget performance was unfavorable. This was on account of higher than planned expenditure, despite revenue exceeding the target. Madam, over the first 9 months of 2021, revenue and grants amounted to 77 billion kwacha against a target of 51.1, giving a positive variance of 50.7%. The positive performance was mainly attributed to dividend receipt from Bank of Zambia, higher collections for mineral royalty and corporate income tax from mining firms. The improved collections from the mining sector were mainly driven by high copper prices and the depreciation of the kwacha against the dollar. Madam Speaker, total revenues and grants for the fiscal year 2021, in other words, up to the end of December, we project these to reach 96.8 billion against the original target of 68 billion. Madam Speaker, total expenditure for the period January to September stood at 112.9 billion and was 25.7% above the target of 89.8 billion. This was largely due to higher than programmed spending on subsidies on agricultural inputs, fuel, election-related expenditure, as well as domestically financed capital expenditure. Madam Speaker, the expenditure to year end is projected at 139 billion, 16% above the target of 119. So, in short, Madam Speaker, revenue rose sharply, but expenditure even rose sharper, leading to deficits. Madam, when we spend more than what we have generated in the revenues and grants, we create a fiscal deficit. That deficit requires that we borrow either from domestic or external sources. Repeatedly done, the borrowing grows too big and servicing of even just the interest charges becomes a problem. The fiscal deficit on a cash basis is projected to be 39 billion or 10.4% of GDP by the end of 2021, which is above the target of 9.3%. Madam Speaker, the level of our fiscal deficit and debt is unsustainable. This is so because as we pay external debt, a lot of foreign exchange that we earn leaves the country, contributing to the falling value of the kwacha that we've seen in the past few years. At the same time, Madam Speaker, as we spend so much money to service both the domestic and external debt, this reduces the financial resources that remain for other purposes such as giving to CDF or hiring teachers. Madam Speaker, we must gradually reduce deficits and debts to restore fiscal and debt sustainability. Debt position. Madam Speaker, the stock of public external debt amounted to $14.71 billion as at the end of September 2021. Of this amount, central government external debt was $12.99 billion, while the guaranteed and non-guaranteed external debt by state-owned enterprises was $1.56 billion and $164 million, respectively. Madam, central government external debt increased by 2% to $12.99 billion as at the end of September, from $12.74 billion as at the end of December 2020. This was on account of disbursements from multilateral creditors and a few other creditors funding priority projects, particularly in the health sector. The stock of central government external debt includes $1.2 billion principal arrears arising from the ongoing debt service standstill. Government has also accumulated interest arrears amounting to $600 million. Madam Speaker, the stock of government guarantees, the guarantees that we give to state companies, was $1.56 billion as at end of September this year. The state-owned power utility ZESCO, including the Kafia Gorge Lower Hydropower project, accounts for 93% of these guarantees. Madam Speaker, the stock of government securities, that is treasury bills, bonds, rose by 45.7% to 189.7 billion kwacha as at the end of September 2021, from 130 billion as at end September 2020. The increase was largely attributed to issuance of bonds to finance agriculture and fuel subsidies, as well as COVID-19 related expenditures. Domestic arrears. Madam Speaker, the stock of audited central government arrears, or pending bills, arrears are simply pending bills, excluding fuel and electricity, stood at 46.9 billion kwacha as at the end of June 2021, from 41 billion in December 2020. The bulk of these arrears are road contractors, suppliers of goods and services, value-added tax refunds, and personnel-related emoluments to public service workers. The build-up of domestic arrears is largely due to budget constraints and a weak commitment control system. And by that, I mean, Madam Speaker, you know very well you have no money, but you give out a contract to a road contractor when you have no money to pay. Madam, fuel arrears. Madam, fuel arrears, that is diesel, petrol, have significantly risen due to price differential between the landed cost of the petroleum products and the pump price. The stock of fuel arrears as at the end of August 2021 stood at $478 million. $478 million that we owe suppliers of these products that we have not paid. Madam Speaker, government cannot afford to keep on accumulating arrears in this manner we have been doing. We must address the causes of these arrears, whether it is subsidies or giving out contracts when government knows very well it has no money to pay. Monetary and financial performance. Madam Speaker, prices of consumer goods and services have been on an upward trend in the first 10 months of 2021. Inflation averaged 22.9% compared to 15.2% over the same period in 2020. This was beyond the target of keeping inflation between 6 and 8%. When the prices of commodities rise too rapidly, it means that the Kwacha buys fewer goods and services and subsequently makes our people worse off. Madam Speaker, the rise in inflation is largely due to a sustained increase in food prices induced by constrained supply of meat, fish, vegetables, as well as the depreciation of the Kwacha. Madam Speaker, one of the consequences of rising inflation, coupled with high appetite for borrowing by the government, is the high interest rates, which constrain our people and businesses from borrowing to invest. Thus, average commercial banks' lending rates remained high at 25.9% in September 2021. This is compared to 25.1% in December 2020. Madam Speaker, the Kwacha-denominated credit to the private sector grew by almost 42% in August 2021 against the contraction of 0.9% the year before. The increase was partly attributed to disbursement from the Bank of Zambia to support businesses through the targeted medium-term refinancing facility. Credit to the government to meet domestic financial needs continue to expand, although at a slower pace, growing by 29.3% year-on-year in August 2021, compared to 61.7% in August 2020. Madam Speaker, the banking sector is the lifeline of business. The sector has remained resilient despite the economic challenges caused by COVID-19 pandemic. The sector was well capitalized, supported by stable profitability, as well as prudential measures taken by the Bank of Zambia to safeguard financial stability in the wake of COVID-19. Madam, the ratio of non-performing loans to total loans at 7.7% as at end August 2021 was below the maximum prudential threshold of 10%. The structuring of distressed credit facilities for businesses severely impacted by the COVID-19 through the targeted medium-term refinancing facility supported the improvement in loan performance. Madam Speaker, in contrast, the non-bank financial institutions sector continue to face challenges, with the ratio of non-performing loans to loans rising to 23.1% in August 2021 from 20.4% in December 2020. This was above the prudential maximum benchmark of 10%. The unfavorable performance was largely due to poor underwriting procedures and delayed remittance of third-party payments on civil servants' salaries-backed loans. I'm happy, Madam Speaker, to tell you that government has since cleared all the outstanding third-party payments to non-bank financial institutions, all paid. External sector performance. Madam Speaker, regrettably, since independence, the value of our exports has predominantly been from copper, despite the enormous potential to export other products. The dependence on copper has left us vulnerable to external shocks. This situation needs to be addressed, and I will elaborate further on measures the new Dawn administration will implement to support export diversification. Madam, preliminary data indicate that Zambia exported more goods and services than was imported by us, to the tune of $1.5 billion during the first half of 2021, compared to $1 billion in the same period in 2020. This was largely due to the increase in value of copper exports. Our exports amounted to $5.1 billion and were dominated by copper, which alone contributed $4 billion to total exports. Madam, as at the end of August 2021, gross international reserves amounted to $2.9 billion, representing 5.5 months of import cover, from 1.2 billion, representing 2.4 billion of import cover at the end of December 2020. Madam, this improvement was explained by the receipt of a gift from the IMF, free gift from the IMF, amounting to $1.3 billion, as well as net market purchase of foreign exchange by the Bank of Zambia. Madam, with regard to the exchange rate, the kwacha strongly appreciated between December 2020 and September 2021, mainly on account of improved portfolio investments. The kwacha appreciated by 22.4% to a monthly average of 16.37 kwacha per dollar in September 2021 from 21 kwacha in December 2020. I go to part 2 of the address, Madam Speaker, and in here I talk about macroeconomic objectives, policies, and strategies for 2022. Madam Speaker, it is clear from the developments I've just outlined that our economy is at crossroads. Growth is low, debt has reached unsustainable levels, the fiscal space of public finances are heavily constrained, and the cost of living is escalated beyond the reach of many Zambians. In addition, successive strenuous COVID-19 waves continue to cause damage to the economy and create uncertainty to the growth outlook. Madam, addressing these challenges will require dedication, determination, and hard work from all of us. To move forward, the new Dawn administration plans to achieve the following objectives for 2022. A, attain real GDP growth rate of at least 3.5%. B, reduce inflation to single digits by end 2022 and within the target band of 6 to 8% by mid-2023. C, limit international reserves to at least 3 months of import cover. D, increase domestic revenues to not less than 21% of GDP. E, reduce fiscal deficit to not more than 6.7% of GDP. And F, limit domestic borrowing to no more than 5.2% of GDP. Madam Speaker, the strategy to achieve these objectives will be founded on the 4 thematic areas as outlined in the presidential address delivered on the official opening of the first session of the 13th National Assembly. That address provided the policy direction for the development of the 8th National Development Plan and the 2022 budget. The 4 thematic areas are: 1, economic transformation and job creation; B, human and social development. C, environmental sustainability. And D, good governance environment. Let me tackle each of those in succession, starting with economic transformation and job creation. Madam Speaker, I've come to this House with a budget that begins our journey towards economic transformation. This is a journey of paying very special attention to getting our economy to grow strongly year after year. The economy growing year after year, it means producing and selling more minerals, more raw agricultural products, more processed agricultural products, manufactured items, services, and others. It is the growth in production that will increase wealth and end poverty. Madam, it is this growth that will create jobs. It is this growth that will lead to more taxes being collected to pay for the health of our people and the education of our children. It will be this growth that will enable us to pay our debts and clear arrears without excessively tightening our belts. It will be this growth that will earn us more dollars. Mr. Speaker, this will be neither a sprint nor a marathon. What did I say? Sorry? I apologize. Madam Speaker, this will neither be a sprint. This will neither be a sprint nor a marathon, but a well-paced and thought-out race. It is a race traveled by other countries, especially in East Asia, Southeast Asia, where some were poorer than us in 1964, and now they've become very rich. The key is to expand production in many sectors as possible year after year. In the initial stage, our focus will be to increase output in agriculture, tourism, mining, manufacturing, energy, transport, to grow the economy and create employment opportunities, especially for the youth. Madam, economic transformation will entail shifting resources to activities of higher productivity, both within and across the sectors. So let me look at now the sectors where growth is expected to take place. Madam Speaker, agriculture presents us the best opportunity to attain growth, especially that the majority of our people, about 60%, are dependent on it. This sector has a relatively short gestation period, with low capital requirements, readily available labor, abundant water resources, and of course, the blessings of arable land. Madam Speaker, the sector, however, has for a long time faced a number of structural and other impediments to the realization of its full potential. These include low production and productivity, limited market access, underdeveloped value chains, and dependence on rain-fed agriculture. In the recent past, the frequency and intensity of climate events have also negatively impacted the sector. Madam, the current Farmer Input Support Program, delivered through a combination of direct input support and electronic voucher systems has had a number of challenges. The direct input support mode of delivering inputs is unsustainable to the Treasury, with expenditures increasing significantly over the years with a limited change in the number of beneficiaries and input package. It is also characterized by serious challenges in delivery as beneficiaries have received fewer inputs than they've paid for. Similarly, in areas where e-voucher system is being used, some farmers have not been receiving inputs despite making contribution. Further, there's been no equity in terms of benefit between the two delivery modes, as we have seen in the past few weeks. Madam Speaker, there is therefore need to comprehensively address these challenges. To this effect, government will implement a new comprehensive agriculture support program commencing in the 2022-23 season. This program will be cost-effective, better targeted, and equitable across beneficiaries. It will also support the supply of quality inputs, attain diversification of crops, as well as increase production and productivity. Madam, it is only right that we continue to support our small-scale farmers for the reason that we all know. But, Madam Speaker, and perhaps this is the departure point, we can do more in agriculture by promoting also, as we support the small-scale farmers, by promoting large-scale estate production for both domestic and export markets. The estates can employ many people at different levels of skills, create associated business opportunities, support agro-industry, support viable out-grower schemes, and earn foreign exchange. Madam Speaker, a good example of a successful estate is the Nakambala Sugar Estate. A successful agriculture estate, in fact, can employ as many people directly and indirectly as a mine. So, Madam Speaker, engineers, agronomists, technicians, drivers, clerks, and many more will find jobs on estates if we expand them. The creation of viable farm blocks all over the country is therefore imperative in our quest to quickly create jobs for the youth. Madam, the government will promote the establishment of large-scale agriculture estates across the country that will produce and process agricultural products that are suitable in the respective areas. The vehicle for doing so will be the farm blocks, which are sometimes also called growth poles. The task of government in realizing this initiative is to provide the necessary infrastructure for farm blocks to be operational. So this will not just be creating roads into nowhere or taking power into nowhere, but taking this infrastructure to areas which will boost agricultural products. Madam Speaker, the government is already discussing with the cooperating partners to secure both the technical and the financial support for the development of some farm blocks. For example, the Nansanga farm block, which has been abandoned in the last 10 years. Let me inform this august House that the background work started this year, and I'm hopeful that actual work on the development of the farm blocks will start in the year 2022, next year. Madam Speaker, the government will also aggressively pursue the development of other farm blocks, and the nation will be kept informed of these developments. Madam, to reduce dependence on rain-fed agriculture, the government will complete and operationalize the ongoing irrigation infrastructure project. We will also mobilize highly concessional financing for irrigation equipment for small-scale farmers. Madam Speaker, to boost agriculture production, I will, in Part 3, announce measures to support agriculture mechanization. Madam, in the livestock subsector, government will recruit more extension officers to enhance provision of services to livestock farmers across the country. Livestock farmers will be trained in open grazing management practices, while animal disease prevention and control programs will continue. Government is also investing in liquid nitrogen plants that will support increased use of artificial insemination. In all these interventions, Madam Speaker, are aimed at increasing production and productivity in the subsector. Madam Speaker, in line with the new Dawn administration agenda of alleviating poverty, we will empower youth and female-headed households through livestock stocking and restocking, as well as support livestock infrastructure. Madam, with regard to the fishery subsector, the country in 2020 produced 94,943 metric tons of fish from a natural water. And 45,670 metric tons of fish under aquaculture. However, the country remains a net importer of fish. In 2020, the country imported an estimated 80,000 metric tons of fish. This subsector has potential to meet domestic demand, penetrate regional export markets, and contribute significantly towards job creation. Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the growth, the subsector faces numerous challenges, such as overfishing from natural water bodies and limited investment in fingerling and fish feed production. To counter this, we will strengthen monitoring and fisheries conservation efforts in our natural water bodies. Further, to complement efforts by the private sector, aquaculture production will be supported through the establishment of additional hatcheries and completion of other infrastructure, such as aquaculture parks. These investments are expected to increase fish production and aquaculture to 61,000 tons in 2020. Tourism. Madam Speaker, 2022. I'm happy you are listening very carefully. Tourism. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration has identified tourism sector as another key in our transformative agenda as it stimulates economic growth. Recently, the sector has been severely hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Madam, cognizant of the expected gradual recovery of the global tourism market, relief measures provided to the sector this year will be extended for another year. In addition, a stable economic landscape will be maintained to reduce the cost of doing business in the sector. This will include the review of the multiplicity of licenses. Madam Speaker, growing the tourism industry requires that the areas available for visitation must be diversified so that Zambia receives more tourists who also spend more nights. Presently, Livingstone and the Victoria Falls area dominate. In the next 5 years, the government will develop other parts of the country by establishing the necessary infrastructure and the regulatory framework that will make them attractive for the private sector to establish hotels, lodges, and other tourism facilities. In other words, Madam Speaker, here also there will be no roads to nowhere, no airports to nowhere, no electricity to nowhere, but where there is tourism potential. Madam Speaker, like in the case of agriculture, development partners and other stakeholders have been engaged to undertake studies with a view to launching some economic-related projects in 2022. Of immediate interest in this respect is the need to complete developments in Cassava Bay in the Northern Circuit, which, Madam Speaker, was abandoned in the last 10 years. Madam Speaker.
Order.
Madam Speaker.
Order.
Zambia is scheduled to host the African Union Assembly of Heads of State and Government next year. This presents an opportunity for the country to market itself as a favorable tourist destination. I urge the tourism sector players to take advantage of the forthcoming summit to market our country and offer attractive tour packages to our visitors. Mining sector. Madam Speaker, the mining sector remains critical to the Zambian economy as it is the main contributor to foreign exchange. This role is destined to grow in importance due to the rising demand for copper, boosted by its vital role in the number of rapidly growing industrial sectors, such as manufacturing of electrical vehicles. The buzzword for copper, Madam Speaker, is that copper will be as lucrative, as money-making, as was oil in the Middle East in the 1970s. Madam, to benefit from the expected copper boom, Zambia must not just depend on the high prices. Rather, it is time now to ramp up production. The new Dawn administration will facilitate the increase in copper output from the current 800,000 tons, where it has been stuck in the last 10 years, to over 3 million tons in the next 10 years. This means, Madam Speaker, that existing mines must produce more, while new mines must be opened. Complications surrounding the existing mines, where window dressing was done, those will be resolved. Madam Speaker, the targeted copper output production level will bring higher earnings, more jobs, business opportunities, taxes, and foreign exchange. As an example, 3 million tons will keep our railways, our truckers extremely busy in terms of transportation, just merely transporting the copper to the ports. The government will ensure that Zambians will not be bystanders in this boom. I will outline the measures in part 3 of my address to attract more investment in the sector. Madam, the government will promote diversification and value addition, not only to copper, but also to gemstones, manganese, and other high-value minerals like gold. I am aware of the local companies that intend to expand their mining operations, while new investors have expressed interest in setting up new plants. I therefore urge these and other investors to take advantage of the reforms in the sector and add value to mineral resources. Madam Speaker, to promote growth of small-scale mining and address illegal mining, the government will formalize operations of artisanal miners through formation of cooperatives, especially for the youth and women. The cooperatives will be equipped with the skills and knowledge to enhance their productivity, as well as training in safe mining practices. These interventions will not only address illegal mining practices, but also create employment. In addition, we are currently undertaking a comprehensive audit of the mining licenses. In addition, we are currently undertaking a comprehensive audit of the mining licenses issued that will help us to develop and implement reforms to enable Zambians to participate in their own right or in partnership with foreign investors. Manufacturing and industrialization. Madam Speaker, to create jobs and achieve higher economic growth, government will support value addition to products from agriculture, forestry, mining sector, and so forth. We will promote the growth of manufacturing sector by facilitating trade and investment, as well as enhance the competitiveness of the local products. Madam, to attract investment and help to concretize value addition, the new Dawn government will reinvigorate the programs of the multi-facility economic zones and industrial parks. These, Madam Speaker, as you recall, also have been abandoned in the last 10 years. This will be achieved through the privatization, through the provision. This will be achieved through the provision of tax incentives that will attract private sector investors into these zones. I will elaborate on this in part 3 of the address. Apart from the tax incentives, we shall undertake a comprehensive review of the investment promotion strategy. Madam Speaker, the Zambian internal market is too small, and this is very important. The Zambian internal market is too small to support sustained production of most goods and services, such as crops, livestock products, and manufactured products. Expanding output, therefore, requires that we must penetrate in the regional and international markets. Access to export markets will be promoted through trade missions, as well as provision of trade facilitation and support services to markets such as the Tripartite Free Trade Area and the African Continental Free Trade Area. Madam, export-led growth also requires reliable but cheap transportation to sea. Short of that, it would be hard to be price competitive. In this regard, discussions are underway with cooperating partners to look into the modalities of improving our railway system. In the same vein, steps are being taken to significantly improve services at our borders in order to minimize delays. Subject to agreement with the neighboring countries, some of the border posts are planned to operate 24 hours a day. Madam Speaker, to facilitate trade to the Great Lakes region, the capacity of Mpulungu Port will be expanded in the medium term. to handle more than 800,000 metric tons of cargo per annum from the current 200,000 tons. Madam, to help reduce the cost of doing business, government will rationalize the number of licenses and permits required to operate. To further support business growth and expansion, government will amend the National Pension Scheme Act of 256 of the laws of Zambia to make the penalty regime less punitive to employers. This will encourage compliance and the registration of new employers. Small and medium enterprises. Madam Speaker, small and medium enterprises play a key role in boosting growth and job creation. It is on this basis that His Excellency the President established a dedicated Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises Development. The ministry is responsible for policy as well as the development, mentorship, and incubation of SMEs. Madam, to enhance the smooth operation of SMEs, the new Dawn administration will provide support to SMEs and cooperatives, ranging from infrastructure development as well as access to markets and credit. We already have an ongoing work in the construction of industrial yards. Madam Speaker, with regards to access to credit, I'm glad to inform this August House that various international institutions, such as UK Aid and European Investment Bank, have come on board. This is in addition to our local institutions, which have products tailored for SMEs. We have made provisions to guarantee the borrowing of SMEs through the Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme. Energy. Madam Speaker, the energy sector is key to economic transformation. The focus will be on the development and management of energy resources in a sustainable manner. Madam, currently the energy sector is faced with many challenges. In the electricity subsector, tariffs are not cost effective, hence the low investments in the sector. In the petroleum subsector, the procurement of petroleum products has been plagued by inefficiency and non-cost reflective prices. Madam Speaker, to ensure an effective and efficient energy sector, reforms will be undertaken in the electricity and the petroleum subsectors. In the electricity subsector, we will implement a renewable energy investment plan that will improve the energy mix. This will also reduce our vulnerability to climate shocks by leveraging the declining cost of technologies to harness our vast solar resources, complemented by wind and geothermal energy. Madam, it is not a secret that the efficiency of ZESCO under the existing corporate structure has been questioned. This will be reviewed. Additionally, the power purchase agreements are being renegotiated as part of the strategy to sustain the company. Madam Speaker, to attract investment within the electricity subsector, we will implement cost-effective tariffs. We will work with countries in the region to accelerate the integration of electricity infrastructure geostrategic realities of the 1960s, as Zambia sought to disengage from the economic connections with southern African countries under apartheid and colonialism. Economic efficiency was considered secondary. Madam, here is an example of the inherent inefficiencies that exist today. Fuel may come into Zambia from Dar es Salaam. Yes. Whether it comes in form of raw stuff for Indeni refinery or finished imported stuff, it travels all the way to the storage tanks in Ndola. From Ndola, some of that fuel returns to Mpika, Kasama, and even Nakonde, where it passed through any route to Ndola in the first place. This inefficiency
Order. Honorable members, let's listen to the budget speech. Order.
This inefficiency contributes to the high cost of fuel unless it is subsidized. After 57 years of independence, it is time to redesign the supply lines so as to achieve efficiency. This is what the government is doing right now so as to remove the inefficiencies. Transport sector. Madam Speaker, transport infrastructure and systems are the arteries through which the economy pulses. Good roads, rail, air, and maritime infrastructure are the backbone for facilitating economic activities as well as trade and investment domestically and within the region and beyond. Madam, in road transport, priority will be placed on maintenance, rehabilitation, and upgrading of feeder roads. We have commenced the improved rural connectivity project to maintain and rehabilitate a total of 4,300 kilometers of rural feeder roads. Emphasis will also be placed on the rehabilitation of economic roads, some of which are in a very bad state, such as the Lusaka Kinsali Nakonde, Kazungula Sesheke roads. Madam Speaker, railway transport has been facing a number of challenges, the major one being the poor state of the infrastructure. To ensure sustainability, priority in the near term will be maintenance of the infrastructure. Madam, the financing of roads, the financing requirements to construct new roads, as well as rehabilitate and maintain existing roads, is beyond the financial capacity of the government. The same applies to railway infrastructure. This will remain so for a long time because of the previous practice of awarding road contracts, even when there was no money to pay the contractors. Arrears in the road sector, Madam Speaker, arrears in the road sector have risen to almost $1 billion US. Madam Speaker, the government will therefore aggressively The government will therefore aggressively pursue the public-private partnership in the overhauling of the existing line and construction of new railway spurs as well as roads. I have no doubt that the private-public partnership mode of financing will be very successful because already we have received so many proposals. Madam, in the aviation sector, focus will be on the completion of Kasama and Bala airports. Further, rehabilitation and maintenance of provincial airports and aerodromes will continue to facilitate air transport for both cargo and passengers. Information and communication technology. Madam Speaker, information and communication technology, ICT, enables economic growth by facilitating delivery of services through the internet and the mobile broadband. In the event of the COVID-19, in the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, this sector is proved to be vital in social and economic affairs of the country. Madam, ICT is an important tool for innovation and financial inclusion. It is increasingly creating employment opportunities for the youth in various sectors such as transport, trade, and financial services. To enhance these opportunities, government will increase the number of communication towers so that this technology reaches all our citizens, especially in the unserved and underserved areas. The New Dawn administration will actualize the digital transformation agenda. Human and social development. Madam Speaker, we must put our people at the center of development. This is not just for its own sake, it is also good economics because it is now known, or common knowledge, that a country with skilled and healthy people can achieve development even if it has no natural resources. We have therefore made significant allocations to education, skills development, and health. We have also scaled up allocation to water and sanitation, as well as provision of social safety nets. Madam Speaker, let me now elaborate on these aspects. Education and skills development. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn administration believes that education is the greatest equalizer. Sound education requires teachers. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, most of our schools, especially those in rural areas, do not have enough teachers. It is not uncommon, Madam Speaker, to find that in one school, say from grade 7 to grade 9, from grade 1 to grade 7, 2 teachers. From grade 1 to grade 9, 2 teachers. That's what we find all across the country. Madam Speaker, despite this limited number of teachers in some schools, there are at least 55,000 young trained teachers who have not been employed. Some have been waiting for 6 years or more post-training to be hired. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration has found the money to recruit the teachers. Madam Speaker, for the first time, Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration has found the money to recruit the teachers. Madam Speaker, for the first time in the history of this country, we will recruit 30,000 teachers.
Order. Order. Honorable members, order. Honorable members, can we have some order in the House?
I repeat, Madam Speaker, for the first time in the history of this country, in 2022, we are going to recruit 30,000 teachers. This is, Madam Speaker,
order.
This is more than what we've hired in the past 10 years put together. The recruitment will help to reduce the backlog of unemployed teachers. Over the next 5 years, the government will continue to hire more teachers in net terms, and the plan is to be current by 2026. Madam, these recruitments are aimed at improving the quality of education by reducing the pupil-teacher ratio. The teachers will be deployed equitably across the country to serve in all the districts. Madam Speaker, the government is aware that in some instances, the shortage of teachers is because some of them do not want to serve in remote places. They join the teaching service merely for the purpose of getting a job, but thereafter insist on transfers so as to serve in urban or peri-urban areas. Government will work out measures within 2022 to end this practice, bearing in mind that the interests of the children are paramount above anything else. Madam, to further improve the quality of education through the provision of teaching and learning materials, grants to primary schools will be increased threefold in 2022. Madam, to increase access to education, government will construct an additional 120 secondary schools in 2020. The financing for this initiative will be through a concessional loan that I recently signed with the World Bank.
Order,
Madam Speaker.
Order.
Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order.
Madam Speaker, unlike the loans which were borrowed for building all sorts of things and payable over 5 years, This loan will be payable over a period of 30 years. Madam Speaker, the United Party, UPND, has always advocated for free education for the child whose family is unable to pay. It is such support during the unique era that enabled many of us to be where we are today. We shall always be committed to this ideal. As such, the 2022 budget envisages concrete steps toward this goal. Government already provides free educational services for learners at Madam Speaker, government already provides free educational services for learners at primary schools. At secondary school level, however, learners currently pay. Typically, they pay 600 kwacha per annum per child for tuition when not in boarding. If in boarding, they pay a total of 3,600 kwacha, inclusive of the 600 tuition fee. In addition, parent-teachers association fees and examination fees are paid. Madam, tuition, parent-teacher association fees, examination fees, and the tuition fees, those will be abolished.
Order. Order. Honorable members, order.
Madam Speaker, I will repeat that. Tuition, parent-teachers association fees, examination fees, and tuition fees, those are being abolished in 2020. To this end, Order. To this end, Madam Speaker, government will provide grants to public schools and those supported by government to meet the increased costs of the operation costs of the schools. In other words, we remove those because government is going to pay. Madam, regarding boarding fees, a better scheme will be introduced for vulnerable learners. The beneficiaries for bursaries, Madam Speaker, the ones to determine whether a child will benefit or not. It will not be a permanent secretary in Lusaka. It will not be a permanent secretary in the province. It will not be the debts. The ward is going to determine which child deserves to receive a bursary.
Order. Order, order. Honorable members, can we maintain the dignity and honor of the House? I know there's excitement, but let's hold it. Otherwise, we'll be here the whole day. Can we have order?
Madam Speaker, I'm sure you agree with me that in a situation where the most deserving children must be identified, the community itself is the best to choose who that child is. The exact modalities are being worked out ahead of the opening of the schools in 2022. Madam Speaker, to ensure that the girl child has equitable opportunities to quality education as a boy child, government will address challenges that the girl child faces, such as walking long distances to school, early marriages, and so forth. In this regard, we will expand the support to the girl child through Keeping Girls in Schools program from the current 28,964 to 43,520 girls in 2022. I'm glad you are so attentive. Health sector. Madam Speaker, just like in the education sector, the new Dawn administration is breaking the record of recruitment in the health sector. In 2022, we will recruit and deploy 11,200 health workers. This is unprecedented. The amount we've provided for in the budget.
Honorable members, can we have order?
The amount we have provided for in the budget will also enable the Minister of Health to put on payroll health staff who have been working without receiving salaries, in certain cases for 2 or 3 years. Madam, the recruitment will improve the quality of health care while reducing the backlog of unemployed frontline health personnel. Measures have been put in place to improve supply management systems to ensure availability of essential medicines and medical supplies. The procurement of medicines and medical supplies will be undertaken by the Zambia Medicines and Medical Suppliers Agency in accordance with the Zambia Medicines and Medical Supplies Agency Act No. 9 of 2019, not the Ministry of Health. Further, we will prioritize equipping and re-equipping of health facilities with modern equipment. Madam Speaker, to increase access to quality and affordable health care, government will continue with a program of construction and completion of health infrastructure throughout the country. To ensure that health care is affordable, we will reform the National Health Insurance Scheme to benefit all. Madam Speaker, to further enhance health care in the country, government will partner with the private sector to create centers of specialization so that Zambians can access specialized health care locally while attracting regional medical tourism. Madam Speaker, we will increase financing towards epidemic and pandemic management to prepare for unforeseen diseases such as Ebola and COVID-19. As we do so, efforts will be made to ensure that there is no disruption in the delivery of routine health programs. In addition, government will pay particular attention to addressing communicable and non-communicable diseases. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank the frontline health workers for their sacrifices and courage during the time when we have had outbreaks of COVID. Water and sanitation, Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration is undertaking a number of water and sanitation projects to improve access to clean and safe drinking water, as well as to provide sanitation services. We will also work with our cooperating partners to ensure that these projects are completed in good time. One of the key outcomes of these interventions is to reduce distances our mothers and children cover to fetch water. Madam, to reduce the cost of drilling boreholes, government has scrapped the fees for application, registration, and annual fees to drill domestic boreholes. Application, registration, and annual fees will only apply to commercial boreholes. However, it will still be a requirement to register all boreholes or apply to drill in a borehole failure. Apply to drill a borehole failure to which penalty fees shall apply. These measures are with effective from 1st January 2022. Social protection, Madam Speaker, to ensure sustained and continued protection of the poor and vulnerable, the new Dawn administration will upscale social protection. Madam, the social cash transfer program will be scaled up by increasing the number of beneficiaries and the transfer value. In 2022, the number of beneficiary households under the program will be increased to over 1 million from the current 880,000. 539. Madam, in 2022, the transfer value for households will be increased from 150 kwacha to 200 kwacha per month. For households with severely disabled members, the transfer value will increase from 300 to 400 kwacha per month. Madam, the social cash transfer has been characterized by high administration costs, delayed payments, and misappropriation. To address these challenges, we will improve and strengthen the payment mechanisms and oversight of the program. Madam Speaker, with regard to the Food Security Pack program, the number of beneficiaries will be increased to 290,000 households in 2022 from 263,700 as at end August 2021. This program is targeted at the vulnerable but viable farmers. Other social protection interventions that will be scaled up include the Girls' Education and the Women's Empowerment and Livelihood Program, the Homegrown School Feeding Program, and the Public Welfare Assistance Scheme and Child Welfare Programs. Madam, as at the end of September 2021, pension benefit arrears for retired public service workers stood at 1.2 billion kwacha. This has negatively impacted their livelihood. To safeguard the livelihoods of retirees, to safeguard the livelihood of retirees in 2022, the new Dawn administration would dismantle all outstanding pension arrears. For public service workers and curtail the accumulation of arrears going forward. Madam Speaker, to make the pension system financially sustainable,
Order.
to make the pension system financially sustainable and provide social security to retirees, government will review and amend relevant legislation, including Public Service Pension Act 260 of the laws of Zambia, Local Authorities Superannuation Fund Act 284 of the laws of Zambia, and the Pension Scheme Regulation Act 27 of 2005. The new pension system will also enable retirees to access accrued benefits before retirement, as pronounced by His Excellency the President.
Order.
Environmental sustainability. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn administration places environmental sustainability at the center of all our development efforts. To bequeath future generations with a better environment, a ministry dedicated to champion development of a green economy and a sustainable environment was created. Madam, in environmental sustainability, focus to be to strengthen climate change adaptation and mitigation, promote sustainable natural resources management, and enhance the coverage of early warning systems. With the renewed focus of the New Dawn administration on greening the economy, we ensure that our social and economic activities are sustainable and efficient. Madam Speaker, we will also promote innovative financing for climate change interventions. This will be done through mechanisms such as the use of green bonds, promotion of carbon trading, and putting in place legislation that establishes a national climate change fund. Madam Speaker, government will review the fee structure for environmental impact assessment. This is to reduce the cost of doing business and align them to international best practice. Good governance environment. Madam Speaker, we need to create a good governance environment in which the conduct of public affairs is done in a responsible, accountable, and transparent manner. This is the commitment of the New Dawn administration. Our priorities in this regard will be to fight corruption, strengthen the rule of law, and ensure sound public financial management. We will also take resources closer to the people through decentralization. Fight against corruption. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn administration has placed a high premium on the fight against corruption. Corruption takes away resources that would have been used to better the health of our children, give them better quality education, and improve livelihoods for our people. Corruption also leads to the adoption of policies that rob future generations of opportunities. Madam, to strengthen the fight against corruption, we've increased the allocation in the 2022 budget for the law enforcement agencies and the investigating wheels. This is in line with the pronouncement made by the President. Madam Speaker, sound public financial management is key in meeting the development agenda of the new Dawn administration. The major focus will be on strengthening national planning, internal controls, audit, resource mobilization, procurement, as well as transparency in debt contraction and management, among others. Madam, to reposition the country in line with the economic transformation agenda, I will bring to this House the 8th National Development Plan for approval within this session. Madam Speaker, to enhance internal controls and ensure timely financing financial reporting, government will expand the coverage of the financial management system to the district level and develop a standardized local authorities financial management information system framework. This will further strengthen the financial governance of the Constituency Development Fund. Madam, let me turn to one of the consequential issues in our public financial management, public procurement. This forms a significant portion of public expenditure and has been subject to abuse. The new Dawn administration will ensure that all public procurements are at the right price, at the right quality, and delivered on time. This will be achieved through strict adherence to the provisions of the Public Procurement Act number 8 of 2020 and ensuring that all public investment projects are appraised. Debt management. Madam Speaker, our external debt is unsustainable. Our external debt is unsustainable. With high debt service obligations, government has had very limited resources to spend on programs that contribute to economic growth and poverty reduction. Our public and public guaranteed debt situation calls for restructuring to release cash. In this regard, government applied for debt restructuring under the Common Framework for Debt Treatment Beyond the Debt Service Suspension Initiative. Madam, to provide an anchor to our debt restructuring engagement, the New Dawn administration is actively engaging the International Monetary Fund, IMF, for a funded program. It is very imperative, Madam Speaker, that Zambia gets the support from the IMF for our economic reform program. Once attained, Zambia will be able to engage creditors to restructure its debts under the Common Framework. So to engage the creditors and successfully negotiate the debt, the gateway to that is to have an IMF program, which has been elusive for so many years. Once this will release Once we negotiate the debt, this will release cash resources which will enable us to finance more development needs already in 2022. For now, we aim to conclude with the creditors for restructuring of debt. We hope this can be done by mid-2022. Sorry, first quarter of 2022. Madam Speaker, I therefore urge this House and the nation at large to rally together and support the government to reach an agreement with the IMF by mid-November this year. There is no option to this. Otherwise, the debts we owe will choke this nation to a standstill. So IMF program is absolute necessity. As I've already stated, to give you an example, Madam Speaker, the salaries we pay to the public service and debt service, those are not even sufficiently covered by the taxes that we collect. Repeat, you collect all the taxes, you collect.
Order. Order. Order.
As I've already stated, debt service and public service salaries exceed domestic revenues. In 2022, we shall only manage to finance other activities because of that grant, that gift that we received from the IMF of 1.3 billion, which we have put to good use by hiring teachers and doctors. Madam Speaker, it is therefore absolutely essential that we get to a program with the IMF. Madam Speaker,
order.
We are engaging collaboratively with our various categories of creditors with the assistance of our financial and legal advisors to work towards a consensual debt resolution. In so doing, we will adhere to the principles of transparency and equitable treatment of all creditors. Madam, to curtail further accumulation of debt, government will not contract an external non-concessional loan except in instances of refinancing. With regards to domestic debt, we ensure that the issuance of government securities will be primarily through auctions. Private issuance of bonds will be minimized. Madam Speaker, I shall be bringing to this August House, within this session, the loans, grants, and guarantees authorization bill, which will repeal and replace the Loans and the Guarantees Authorization Act, Cap 366 of 1969. The bill will, among others, propose to enhance transparency in public debt management, including loan contraction, and provide a framework for evaluation, issuance, and monitoring of public guarantees. Fiscal policy. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration's fiscal policy agenda is to progressively reduce fiscal deficits to sustainable levels while supporting growth that generates jobs and reduces poverty. To achieve this, we will employ a combination of revenue mobilization, administrative reforms, and expenditure rationalization measures. Madam, in the medium term, our target is to increase domestic revenue to at least 21% of GDP. To achieve this, government will streamline the tax system and place high priority on fair and equitable taxation, as well as establish a stable and predictable tax policy environment. Further, we will rationalize the mining tax system to attract investment, which in turn will increase production. We will also address base erosion and profit shifting to boost domestic revenue. Madam Speaker, to take advantage of the ICT for revenue collection, government will connect an additional 100 public services to the government service bus and payment gateway. This will bring the total number of services to 300 by the end of 2022. Further, the Zambia Revenue Authority systems will be interfaced with the government service bus and other systems to improve on regulatory compliance and seal revenue leakages. Madam Speaker, to rationalize expenditure will reduce areas of wastage of resources in the budget and channel them to other need areas that will improve the livelihoods of our people. The migration of beneficiaries under the Farmer Input Support Program to cheaper comprehensive agriculture policy in one such measure. Madam Speaker, to further reduce expenditure on goods and services, the new Dawn government will strictly enforce the provisions of the Public Procurement Act No. 8 of 2020. We will ensure that the procurement of public goods, works, and services are done at the right price in accordance with the quarterly market price index published by the Zambia Procurement Authority. Strategies on dismantling of public arrears. Madam Speaker, to curtail the accumulation of arrears and dismantle the stock, we have developed an arrears dismantling strategy. The key measures in the strategy include budgetary provisions, debt or check swaps, as well as debt refinancing and restructuring. We plan to liquidate a substantial amount of the domestic arrears over the next 5 years. Monetary sector. Madam Speaker, government is committed to lowering the cost of living for our people by reducing the current high levels of inflation. In this regard, Bank of Zambia will take all the necessary action to bring inflation down to the target band of 6 to 8% by mid-2023 at the latest. Further, implementation of monetary policy will continue to rely on forward-looking framework anchored on the monetary policy range. This will take into account subdued economic activity and existing vulnerabilities in the financial system. Financial inclusion. Madam, the country has made significant progress in financial inclusion. The level of financial inclusion among adults increased to 6.6 million, or 69.4% in 2020, from 4.8 million, or 59.3% in 2015. This was largely driven by a surge in the use of digital financial services, particularly mobile money, to 58.4% in 2020 from 14% in 2015. Madam, despite the progress made towards enhancing financial inclusion, 2.9 million, or 30.6% of adults, remain financially excluded, with women, the rural-based population, as well as small and medium-scale enterprises being the most challenged. In this regard, government will upscale the implementation of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2017 to 2022, aimed at enhancing financial inclusion in collaboration with various stakeholders. Next, Madam Speaker, decentralization. Madam Speaker, you may note that until now, the CDF has been pegged at 1.6 million kwacha per constituency if it got released at all. The anchor for the new Dawn administration is taking resources closer to the people. To this end, we have significantly increased CDF to 25.7 million kwacha.
Order. Order, order. Order! Order. Order. Let's allow the Minister of Finance to continue.
I repeat, as demanded, Madam Speaker, you may note that until now, CDF was pegged at 1.6 million kwacha per constituency. The anchor for the new Dawn administration is taking resources closer to the people. To this end, we have significantly increased CDF to 25.7 million kwacha.
Order. Order, order.
Madam Speaker.
Order. Order, order. Order.
Madam Speaker, the increased allocation to constituencies, especially the rural areas, is unprecedented in the history of our country. A significant amount of money is now getting into communities for them to identify their priorities, make budgets, and undertake the development programs that are so dear to their hearts. Madam Speaker, given this increased allocation for constituencies, we have widened the scope for utilization of the CDF. This means that certain tasks that were previously under the central government through the districts will no longer be performed by them. They will be undertaken by the local authorities working with the local communities through CDF. For example, primary school classrooms, teachers' houses, school desks, rural clinics, staff houses, local courts, small bridges, clearance of canals, community boreholes, deep tanks. All these must be financed.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members of the House. Can we maintain some decorum? We are not in a market. Order.
Madam Speaker, the difference now is as follows. When you talked about classrooms before, when you talked about schools before, when you talked about bridges before, there was segregation. Yes. If you belong to the right group, you receive the funding. Yeah. If not, you received nothing. Yeah. Through CDF now, that broadens everything and takes everything to the constituency. Everyone is assured of getting something. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, in addition to the traditional community-based projects, empowerment schemes that were previously funded through relevant ministries, such as youth and gender, where again there was discrimination. This time round, all those will be funded through CDF, through the constituency. Just like the bursaries, they will no longer be funded from Lusaka, not from Kabwe, not from Chivombo, but in a ward. Madam Speaker, under this model, rural communities will also benefit, unlike in the past, when concentration was in the urban areas. Madam Speaker, government will ensure that the CDF and other resources that will be provided to local authorities are used prudently. To attain this, guidelines and standards for utilization, management, monitoring, and evaluation of resources are being developed together with capacity building programs. Here is a stern warning. Abuse of CDF and failure to sanction those who have misbehaved with this money, those who attract very heavy punishment. Madam Speaker, to expand the tax base and the revenue collection from the informal sector, 33 local authorities which signed contracts with the ZRA will start the implementation in 2022. External sector policies. Madam Speaker, government will maintain a flexible exchange rate regime. To this effect, we will promote measures that support the stability of the exchange rate. These include stepping up the accumulation of international reserves to accumulate a buffer to cushion the economy against external shocks. Fast-tracking the diversification of exports through export-led industrialization and promotion of viable foreign direct investment. Public-private partnerships. Madam Speaker, during the official opening of the first session of the 13th National Assembly, His Excellency the President emphasized leveraging on PPP investments to deliver balanced and integrated infrastructure development. PPP approach will not only supplement government efforts in infrastructure development, but also free resources to support social sectors such as health and education. Madam Speaker, we will repeal and replace the PPP Act number 14 of 2009. The new Act will address the shortcomings of the current law by ensuring mutual benefits to the public and private sectors, and will also enhance the enabling environment for local and foreign investors. Madam, I wish to appeal to all the investors to come forth and express their interest in PPP projects. Media reforms, Madam Speaker, to provide universal access to the media by all citizens, especially those in far-flung areas. My government will, in the short to medium term, reform the media landscape, including public media. In this regard, government will facilitate the installation of powers as well as FM radio services in all the districts. Further, both the public and the private media will be allowed to operate freely without interference and restriction. We expect media houses to walk the talk on self-regulation and professionalism as they discharge their duties. Census of population and housing. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration is committed to undertaking the 6th census of population in 2022. To this effect, I will in due course issue a statutory instrument. Madam Speaker, may I to the private sector, cooperating partners, as well as other stakeholders to partner with us for a successful census of population and housing. Keeping the campaign promises. Madam Speaker, before I get to part 3 of the address, I wish to make reference to some of the very important campaign promises that the UPND made and indicate how they are being addressed in the 2022 budget. I've already touched on this, but it is helpful to explicitly put them together. I will only touch on 2, namely not allowing any child who is academically capable to fail to progress in their education due to lack of funds, and the second one being youth employment. Madam, in education, at a stroke of a pen, we have removed tuition fees at public secondary and publicly aided secondary schools. Totally out. On top of that, we've provided bursaries for vulnerable children who cannot afford to pay for their upkeep. And very importantly, it is the community themselves and not us, the bureaucrats, who choose who the most deserving children are, because they know each other in their communities. It is clear, Madam Speaker, that we've taken decisive steps to holding the hands of capable children who might otherwise fall off from realizing their academic potential. This is a gigantic step not witnessed for decades. We shall do more as we move forward, including addressing meal allowances for students and the recovery modalities for student loans as we move forward. Madam Speaker, let me now turn to the important issue of employment, a vexing problem among the youth.
Order. Order.
Madam Speaker, let me now turn to the issue of youth employment, a vexing problem, especially among the youth. Jobs are created either in the public sector or in the private sector. Government, for its part, as already indicated, will create a minimum of 44,000 teachers, 44,000 jobs through the recruitment of teachers and healthcare personnel. Madam,
can we have some order?
Madam,
Honorable members on my left, can we have some order, please?
Madam, the enhanced CDF, Madam, the enhanced CDF is another initiative that government has put in place to help in job creation. Within the CDF are the empowerment schemes that will now reach each and every constituency. Youth and women can access this assistance for business opportunities. Madam Speaker, the most interesting aspect of the enhanced CDF, though, as far as job creation is concerned, is that government wants to see the local people themselves to be the beneficiaries of the enhanced CDF. What it means, Madam Speaker, is if there's a classroom to be constructed, local builders in that area must do it. If there are clinics to be constructed, local builders in that place must construct. If there are desks to be made, and by the way, the importation of desks, that is history. No more imports of desks by government. So, Madam Speaker, what it means that with this money, if the community wants to have desks, it is a matter of giving the tender to the local people in those communities to do the job. Madam Speaker, this means there will be no handouts, but asking our youth to do the work, serious work, and get paid for it. Madam Speaker, only when local people are not available should they search for contractors outside their locality, like in the district and the province. In similar vein, as I've said already, government will no longer tolerate the importation of desks and school furniture, but the local timber in Sioma, in Kaoma, in Sinda, that local timber now, utilizing the local labor, must produce the desks for the children in that area. Madam Speaker, to ensure that local people in the constituency are prepared, to partake in these jobs, some money is being put aside in the Ministry of Technology to accelerate the training of youth in every constituency. The training of youth in every constituency, so that in the next 2-3 years, in every constituency, there are 30, 40, 50 young people that can build schools, that can make desks, and that can do clinics. These are jobs that we've created through CDF. Madam Speaker, logically, there are only so many jobs that can be created in the public sector. Because how many policemen are we going to hire? How many civil servants? That number is limited. The rest of job opportunities must come from the private sector. And for such jobs, there's no limit, as long as policy environment attracts investment. In that respect, Madam Speaker, the initiatives that we've taken to expand the existing mines, to create new mines, to put activity in the M phases, the farming blocks, thousands and millions of jobs will be created in the next 10 years. Part 3. The 2022 budget. Madam Speaker, I wish to indicate that the Treasury truly is very tight because of the excessive borrowing of the recent past. Madam, government proposes to spend 173 billion kwacha in 2022, equivalent to 37.1% of GDP. Of this amount, revenue and grants are 100.7 billion kwacha, representing 21.6% of GDP. The gross financing of 72 billion, which translates to a budget deficit of 6.7% of GDP, will be raised through external and domestic resources, including, in fact, the major part of it, including a drawdown on that gift I spoke about from the IMF. Government, Madam Speaker, I will now present the details of the government proposed spending for the 2022 fiscal year. (2022) budget allocation by functions of government. General Public Services. Madam Speaker, I propose to spend a total of 86.4 billion for general public services, translating to 49.9% of the total budget. Of this amount, 51.3 billion is for external debt service, while 27.4 billion will go towards domestic debt service. Madam, in our resolve to continually empower local authorities, I propose to allocate 1.3 billion to the Local Government Equalization Fund. I've also proposed an allocation of 3.1 billion towards dismantling of arrears to various suppliers of goods and services. Economic affairs. Madam Speaker, to support government's agenda for economic transformation and job creation, I propose to spend a total of 3.7 billion towards the economic affairs function. Of this amount, 4.9 billion is for road infrastructure. This will include the continuation of ongoing road projects, as well as opening up strategic economic routes. Government will further undertake significant works to rehabilitate and upgrade feeder roads across the country. Madam, to enhance agricultural production, productivity, and diversification, a provision of 5.4 billion has been proposed for agricultural inputs. This will support 1 million beneficiaries through the Farmer Inputs Support Program, which will be implemented via the Comprehensive Agriculture Support Program. The government contribution will be more than doubled to 3,600 per beneficiary from the current 1,700 kwacha. I've also proposed to spend 960 million kwacha on the strategic food reserves for next year. Madam Speaker, to make rural areas attractive for investment and promote rural industrialization, government will accelerate the rural electrification program. To this effect, I propose to spend 362 million. Madam, I propose to allocate 4 billion kwacha for the constituents development fund, as explained earlier on. Of this amount, 3.2 billion will go towards development intervention in underserved communities in all constituencies, while 792 million has been allocated to secondary school and skills development bursaries. This translates to an average of 25.7 million kwacha per constituency, as compared to 1.6 million allocated in 2021. Education, Madam Speaker, to increase access to education, improve the quality of education provision while promoting equal opportunities for girls, learners with disabilities, and the vulnerable, I propose to spend a total of 18.1 billion in 2022 on the education sector. Of this amount, 1.7 billion has been set aside for the recruitment of the 30,000 teachers I spoke about, and 2.2 billion is for the general operations of the schools across the country. Government has also set aside funds to provide free education by paying school fees in all public schools for all learners at early childhood, primary and secondary education levels. Grants to public schools have also been increased, as I indicated earlier on. Further, Madam Speaker, I've allocated 694.3 million for the construction and completion of ongoing schools infrastructure. There are so many schools scattered all over the place which have been left hanging. So this money, Madam Speaker, each school, without exception, is going to get something so that they push forward. Health. Madam Speaker, in the health sector, we will focus on providing equitable access to quality health care services at all levels of service delivery. In this regard, I propose to spend a total of 13.9 billion, which includes an allocation for recruitment of 11,200 healthcare personnel. Of this amount, 3.4 billion is for the procurement of essential drugs and medical supplies, including for COVID-19 vaccine. This represents more than double the allocation in the 2021 budget towards drugs and medical supplies. Housing and community amenities. Madam Speaker, I propose to spend a total of 2.4 billion on housing and community amenities. Of this amount, 2.3 billion is for water supply and sanitation. This allocation will be enhanced. This allocation will enhance the interventions being made by water utility companies to improve and ensure adequate supply of safe and clean water in our communities. Public order and safety. Madam Speaker, public order and safety plays a significant role in maintaining law and order in the country. In this regard, I propose to allocate 3.5 billion towards this function. This allocation will also be used to address the infrastructure deficiency in security wings, including correctional facilities. Social protection, Madam, I propose to spend 6.3 billion on social protection. Of this amount, 2.1 billion will go towards payment of retirement benefits to former public service workers under the Public Service Pension Fund. The allocation has been increased to 2.1 billion from 1.1 billion to clear the backlog on pension benefits and reduce vulnerability among the retirees and mentioned earlier on. Further, $3.1 billion has been allocated to the social cash transfer program to support the over 1 million vulnerable households, where 1.1 billion has been allocated to the food security packs. Other functions, Madam Speaker, I propose to allocate 8.8 billion for the functions of defense, environmental protection, recreation, culture, and religion. This amount includes an allocation of 971.9 million towards climate change adaptation programs and projects to ensure that our pursuit for economic growth takes into account the protection and sustainability of the environment. Revenue estimates and measures. Resource envelope for 2022 budget. Madam Speaker, to meet the proposed expenditure, government expects to raise a total of 173 billion. Of this amount, 77.9 billion will come from taxes, 20.7 billion from non-tax revenue, and 343 million from other revenues. Further, 24.5 billion will come from domestic borrowing, while externally sourced financing is projected at 49.7 billion. Of these external sources, 39.3 billion will be in the form of budget support, 8.5 billion from existing project disbursements, while grants from cooperating partners will be 1.8 billion. Revenue measures for 2022. Madam Speaker, I now present the 2022 revenue measures. Direct taxes. Madam Speaker, in order to cushion the rise in the cost of living, I propose to increase the exempt threshold for pay-as-you-earn to 4,500 kwacha from 4,000 kwacha and adjust income tax bands. This means that we are putting 600 million kwacha in the hands of our employees. Madam Speaker, to attract investment and boost production in the mining sector, I propose to reintroduce the deductibility of mineral royalty for corporate income tax assessment purposes. This measure is in line with the international best practice and will promote the production of copper towards the 3 million target that I spoke about. The revenue loss from this is projected at 3.2 billion. Madam, to align with the current legislation on tax carry-forward limits of losses, I propose to increase the period for disallowed interest deduction carried forward to 10 years from 5 years. Madam Speaker, government will in the medium term amend the law so that mineral royalty determination reflects a measure of both incremental and aggregate norm values. Madam Speaker, to broaden the tax base, I propose to extend property transfer tax on transfers of mineral processing and other mine-related licenses at the applicable rate of 10%. However, the top marginal tax rate for telecommunication companies will be maintained at 40%. The revenue loss for this measure is projected as 599 million. Madam Speaker, in the medium term, government will harmonize corporate income tax rates for all sectors. Madam, I propose to extend the 15% corporate income tax on income earned by hotels and lodges on accommodation and food services to 31st December 2022 from 31st December 2021. This is in view of the continued negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on the tourism sector. This revenue forgone from this measure is projected at 23.2%. Madam Speaker, I propose to reform the rental income tax regime by charging turnover tax at 4% for income below 800,000 kwacha per annum. For rental income above 800,000 kwacha, the income tax regime for individual or corporate will apply. The revenue loss for this measure is 169 million kwacha. Madam, to encourage the culture of saving and promote financial inclusion, I propose to extend the tax exemption relating to payment of interest to all interest-earning bank accounts held by individuals. The revenue loss from this measure is 9.2 million kwacha. Madam Speaker, to support the growth of local reinsurance, I propose to introduce a 20% withholding tax on reinsurance placed with reinsurance not licensed in Zambia. The revenue gain for this measure is projected at 49 million kwacha. Madam Speaker, I propose to revise upwards the bands for presumptive taxes. The tax bands were last reviewed in 2018. The revenue gain from this measure is projected at 107 million. Madam Speaker, to enhance tax compliance on betting, casino, lottery, and gaming activities, I propose to introduce a mandatory requirement for tickets to display the withholding tax payable on potential winnings. Further, this will be a condition for holding a license, whether operating online or through a physical store. Value-added tax. Madam Speaker, to improve productivity through mechanization in the agriculture sector, I propose to zero-rate value-added tax on selected agricultural equipment and accessories. These include manure spreaders, balers, combine harvesters, commercial sprinkler irrigation systems, animal feed grinder mixer, pelleting machines, sprayers, trailers of a specific HS code, and dryers for agricultural products of a specific HS code. This to increase the taxable base of VAT, I propose to standard rate the supply of the following: property and land life insurance, and abolish the current applicable insurance premium levy, and on booklets and newspapers. These measures will result in a revenue gain of 178 million kwacha. Madam Speaker, to encourage compliance and enhance proper identification of mobile phones and security, I propose to change the tax collection point for value-added tax and 25% on solar streetlights and solar charge control units, respectively. This measure will result in a revenue loss of 20.2 million kwacha. Madam, to support the livestock subsector, I propose to remove the 5% customs duty on importation of cattle breeding stock. Further, to address the shortage of day-old chicks, I propose to suspend the 5% customs duty on grandparent and or parent stock of day-old chicks when imported by a breeding company for a period of 12 months, effective 1st November 2021. Madam Speaker, to improve the competitiveness and efficiency of the local manufacturers of plastic products, I propose to remove the 5% customs duty on filler master batch. The revenue loss for this measure is projected at 2.7 million kwacha. Madam, to harmonize customs duty rates applicable on tires of lorries and buses, as well as construction and agricultural machinery, I propose to harmonize the rates at 15% from 40% or 5 kwacha per kilogram, whichever is greater. The revenue loss from this measure is 16 million kwacha. Madam Speaker, to continue cushioning the tourism sector amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, I propose to extend the waiver of customs duty on safari gaming viewing vehicles, tourist buses, and coaches to 31st December 2023. This will only apply to accommodation establishments, convention centers, and tourism enterprises. The revenue gone from this measure is 2.9 million. Madam, to support agro-processing in general, Madam, to support agro-processing in general, I propose to extend to 31st December 2022 suspension of customs duty on importation of refrigerated trucks. Further, I propose to extend the relief to processors of milk and manufacturers of medicaments. The revenue loss is minimal. Madam Speaker, for a single petty consignment, I propose to increase the exemption value of goods on which duty is paid to $500 from 50 kwacha, inclusive of freight and insurance. This excludes goods consigned through parcel post or air freight. The revenue loss from this measure is 161.4 million kwacha. Madam, to open the market for maize while ensuring food security, I propose to remove the 10% export duty on maize. This measure is affecting November 2021. So next week, you can export maize without tax. The revenue loss from this measure is 18.1 million kwacha. Madam, to promote the growth of the ceramic industry, I propose to increase customs duty to 25% from 15% on floor and wall tiles imported from outside the COMESA and SADC regions. Madam Speaker, to promote the manufacturing industry, I propose to increase customs duty to 25% from 5% and 15% on yarn made from acrylic fiber of specific HS codes imported from outside the COMESA and SADC region. Madam, to promote domestic production and create jobs, I propose the following measures. A, introduce a surtax at a rate of 5% on imports of yarn made from acrylic fiber on specific HS codes. B, introduce a surtax at a rate of 5% on knitted or crocheted jerseys, pullovers, cardigans, waistcoats, and similar articles. C, introduce surtax at a rate of 10% on imported cement bags. D, introduce surtax at the rate of 5% on imported floor and wall tiles. E, introduce surtax at the rate of 20% on imported glass on selected HS codes. F, increase surtax on flexible, intermediate bulk FIB containers at 20% from 5%. And G, remove the 5% surtax on the importation of bovine semen. Madam Speaker, I also propose the following revenue-raising measures. A, introduce 5% extra duty on coal. B, increase the specific extra duty on opaque beer to 50 ngwe per liter when packaged, and 1 kwacha for unpackaged beer from 15 ngwe. C, increase specific extra duty on cigarettes from the current 302 kwacha per mil to 355. D, increase specific duty on unmanufactured tobacco, tobacco refuse, smoking tobacco, whether or not containing tobacco substitutes, water pipe tobacco, or cut rag to 355 from 240. Madam, despite the multi-facility economic zone's emphasis having been embarked on more than a decade ago to drive the industrialization agenda, to date, investment directed into the emphasis remain dismal. To revamp and remodel the economic zones and make the incentives more targeted, I propose the following measures. A, introduce 0% tax for a period of 10 years from the first year of commencement of works in multi-facility economic zone or industrial park on dividends declared on profits made on exports by companies operating in these economic zones and under the ZDA Act of 11/2006. B, introduce 0% tax for a period of 10 years from the first year of commencement of works in the MFAs or industrial park on profits made on exports by companies operating in these economic zones under the ZA Act number 11 of 2006. For years 11 to 13, only 50% of the profits will be taxed and 75% of the profits for the years 14 and 15. C, reduce the threshold to $50,000 for a Zambian citizen to qualify for incentives provided under the ZDA Act number 11 of 2006. Previously, this was $500,000. That has now been reduced to $50,000 to encourage Zambians to invest. Housekeeping measures. Madam Speaker, to update, strengthen, and remove ambiguities in certain provisions of the tax laws and make tax administration more effective, I propose to amend the Income Tax Act, Customs and Excise Act, Property Transfer Tax, Insurance Premium Levy, and Value Added Tax Act, among others. Non-tax revenue measures. Madam Speaker, to adjust for inflation since the last review of a decade ago, I propose to revise upwards fees charged by the Road, Transport and Safety Agency Department. I'll read that again. Madam Speaker, to adjust for inflation since the last review of a decade ago, I propose to revise upwards fees charged by the Road, Transport and Safety Agency, the Department of National Registration, Passport and Citizenship, Forestry Department, and Seed Control Certification Control Institute, among others. Madam, to support the organizations that complement government efforts in provision of services to the vulnerable, I propose to revise downward the immigration permit fees under the non-governmental and non-profit organization category. The revenue loss from this measure is at 9.1 million. Madam Speaker, to reduce the cost of renewing driving licenses, I propose that renewal of the licenses for PSV will no longer be mandatory every year. Instead, it will be done once in 5 years. Madam, Zambia remains a destination of choice for tourism. To improve our competitiveness, I propose to reduce visa.
Order.
Zambia remains a destination of choice for tourism. To improve our competitiveness, I propose to reduce visa fees of all categories by 50%. Madam Speaker, unless otherwise stated, the measures that I've outlined will take effect on 1st January 2022. Part 4, conclusion. Madam Speaker, August the 12th was a watershed moment in the history of our great nation. A nation that has for too long not realized its full potential. A nation rich in natural resources and heritage. A nation where sustained prosperity for all has remained elusive. 2.5 months ago, our people, particularly the youth, resoundingly called for tangible and lasting change in their lives and future generations. Madam Speaker, as the new Dawn administration, we are walking the talk. The 2022 budget has illustrated that the promise of economic transformation is a reality. The promise of an enabling environment for macroeconomic stability and job creation is a reality. The promise to take resources and development closer to the people is now a reality. Madam, our notion of economic transformation is genuine and aimed at ensuring that our people benefit from the rich endowment of this country. This budget, therefore, is an initial step towards repositioning the country to fully exploit its human and natural resources for decades to come. Madam Speaker, I wish to recognize the assistance from our cooperating partners and development partners and implore them to continue supporting our development agenda. Madam, as I conclude, allow me to state that the task ahead of us is enormous and it requires a fundamental shift in mindset and the way we do things. I therefore implore all Zambians to work hard individually and collectively as we transform the country. Madam, let me assure you that the new Dawn administration is equal to the task. The journey to fix the economy starts now. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
The question is that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2022 to 31st December 2022, presented to the National Assembly in October 2021. Any further debate? Honorable Member for Chikankata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity I thank you for giving me this opportunity to be the first one to speak on the motion of supply that has just been moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning. Madam, firstly, allow me to congratulate the Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning for the able manner he has moved the motion of supply and presented the 2022 national budget. Madam Speaker, the speech that has been delivered by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning has raised a number of important issues concerning the economy of our country and requires careful analysis by all honorable members. I am, therefore, of the considered view that we defer debate on this motion to Tuesday, 2nd November 2021, so that honorable members have ample time to read and carefully analyze the speech. This will enable honorable members to come back next week well prepared to debate the motion meaningfully. With these few remarks, I wish to propose that the debate on the motion of supply moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning be deferred to Tuesday, 2nd November 2021. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Order. Order. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Bwana Mukubwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank you for according me this opportunity to support the proposal by the Honorable Member for Chikankata that the debate on the motion of supply moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning be deferred to Tuesday, 2nd November 2021. Honorable members, you agree with me that the issues contained in the budget speech have an impact on
Honorable
the lives.
members, please, can we have some order?
I'll educate some of you, just wait. Honorable members will agree with me that the issues contained in the budget speech have an impact on the lives of the people that we are privileged to represent in this House. And therefore, we require sufficient time to study the speech. Madam, for this reason, I agree with my honorable colleagues that more time be given to honorable members to carefully study and analyze the speech which has been presented so that we can engage meaningfully next Tuesday. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Order. I hear no objection to the proposal. The proposal is agreed to. The debate on the motion is adjourned until Tuesday, 2nd November 2021. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment. Order, honorable members, order, please, order.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Have been watching the live proceedings of the House, and the Minister of Finance and National Planning has just